In this video, I'm going to go over how to create a filter in Gmail so that you can declutter your inbox. You will still get these messages, but they will skip your inbox and go directly into a folder that you can go to later. This is particularly helpful if you have a program that sends a lot of email notifications. At my school, I see this most with a program called GoGuardian, which we use for monitoring and restricting students' internet access. And we also see it in Google Docs with notifications from comments. So with GoGuardian, every time a teacher ends a session, the program automatically sends an email with a breakdown of what sites the students were on and what percentage of the time they spent on different sites. It's an incredibly useful tool, but probably not something that you're going to look at every day. If you want to stop these messages from coming entirely, you would log into your GoGuardian account, navigate to the Settings tab and Reporting, and then just unclick this box for Enabled, and you wouldn't get those anymore. The emails that they send are presented pretty well and offer a nice addition to the information that you're getting from your sessions after. With Google Docs, teachers are taking advantage of the comments feature in order to provide personalized feedback to students throughout the writing process. However, by default, you are notified every time a student resolves one of your comments. So if you teach 100 students across your classes and you're writing 5 comments for each student, we quickly have an email overload. So if you do want to stop these entirely, you would come up to the comments and notifications. You can select to receive all notifications. So that would be if there's 5 different people working on the document, you would get a notification every time that somebody commented or resolved a comment. You can also decide to get notifications only for the comments that you create. So that would be only yours. And then none. And a lot of teachers might choose none, but I would still want to set up a Gmail filter because you will have to select none every time that you have another paper that a student is writing. And so if you forget to do that one time, you're going to start getting all those emails again. So if we set up the Gmail filter, it'll kind of catch that in case we do forget to turn this off one time. So to create a Gmail filter, we're going to go to the settings icon and then select settings again. From there, we're going to navigate to filters and blocked addresses. And then we'll select create a new filter. You can see that there are a few different ways to specify how you want to filter messages. For almost all of mine, I use the from category because most automated messages come from a specific email address. So I'm going to keep this tab open and I'm going to open another tab in Gmail in order to search for the messages I want to filter. In this case, it's my GoGuardian session summaries. So if I open one of these emails, I can grab the email address that these are coming from. In this case, all of these are coming from noreply@goguardian.com. So I'm going to copy that address and then bring it back to my settings and paste that in the from column. You might also filter by subject. As you might have seen with my GoGuardian emails, they all start with session summary. When deciding how to filter, you want to be sure that it is broad enough that you capture all of the similar emails you want to, but specific enough that something else doesn't get bundled in that you didn't intend. So I can imagine an instance where an email from a colleague asks about a session summary, or those 2 words are in an email in some way. And so I wouldn't want that necessarily to be in this filter. So I'm just going to use the noreply@goguardian.com. I think that's going to work well for our purposes. So once I've settled on how I'm going to filter, I'm going to hit the create filter button. Now we have our options for what we want Gmail to do when it receives one of these emails. For our purposes, I want to skip the inbox so it stops cluttering up my feed. I'm also going to apply a label, which is essentially a folder, these ones on the left over here, where my emails are going to go to now that they're not coming to my inbox. So I'm going to go and I can create a new label, and this one I'm going to call GoGuardian Session Summaries. You can make folders within folders, but I'm not going to worry about that for today. And the third one I'm going to select is the also apply filter to 17 matching conversations. That is going to go back through your inbox, find every email that matches your criteria, and move it from your inbox to your label. This is a great way to clean up your inbox in bulk without having to go through every single email and either archive or delete it. It's also a great way for you to check the filter afterwards to see if what you created is filtering it appropriately the way you wanted to. You might adjust the filter after if there were emails that didn't get moved that you wanted to, or vice versa. To finish, I'm going to select Create Filter. Before I do that, some other options you might find useful would be to use categories. So categories are essentially labels that Google sets up for you. So those are your primary, your social, and your promotions. Unfortunately, at this time, you can't add your own categories. Those are the ones that show up across the top of Gmail. You can only use the ones Google provides. I personally would like that added as an organizational option to create your own categories. Maybe that's something Google will offer in the future. There's also an option to automatically delete emails that come from whatever filter you set up. This might be good for things that you know are spam. However, I would caution against it. It makes me a little bit nervous. I don't personally have any filters that automatically delete. I prefer to, if there's something that's bothering me, I will set a label to it. And that way, as an example, I have these calendar invites here. That way I can go back every once in a while. I can just scroll through, make sure there's nothing here that I didn't want. Then I, in just 2 clicks, can delete them all. So I can select all and delete those. That way I'm just not deleting something without, sight unseen, and then potentially deleting something that I didn't want to actually delete. So I've got my GoGuardian filter set up. In order to set up my filter for Google Docs, I've opened one of the emails that I received from Google Docs. And the thing that's a little tricky about filtering these is that the email addresses these come from, this very specific email address here, is different for every student. It might actually even be every Google Doc. I'm not positive on that. And we don't want to have to make a filter for every single student. So instead, I'm going to find the piece that is common among all of them, which in this case is docs.google.com. So I am running the risk that something other than Google Docs notifications will be sent to this address at docs.google.com. But I can't think of anything that would come from this specific address that would be urgent for me to see. So I am still comfortable with filtering in this way. If you were worried about that and wanted to be a little more specific, you could add, the word comments maybe to make the criteria a little bit more specific. I'm not too worried about that in this instance. So again, I'm going to go to the settings icon and settings again. I will click filters and blocked addresses and then create a new filter. And so I'll paste in my docs.google.com there and create a filter. And the 3 that I've selected again were to skip the inbox so I don't see it, but that I can go to it when I, number 2, apply the label. I already have one, so I'm going to hit Docs Comments, and then also apply filter to the 15 matching conversations and create my filter. So that was my video on creating filters in Gmail. For more how-to videos on anything Google, GoGuardian, I also have some things on Schoology, go to my website, nhsteachers.com.